Welcome back to Glow Up or Get Out. I'm half the podcast, Sam.
I'm the other half, Mel.
Welcome back, you guys. Feels like it's been a minute. I don't know why. I feel like we're on our regular...
Yeah, we've been on our regular routine, but I think we
haven't seen each other.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Literally in like a week.
I didn't see you Friday. We didn't.
No.
Thursday was it's been a week. Wow.
That's why.
Yeah. A lot has happened.
So much. If y'all didn't know, fucking 6 planets are in retrograde apparently. And, you know, shit's hitting the fan.
Wow.
But we all gotta stay positive and at peace. If you're feeling it, just, you know, work on keeping your peace. And we'll kind of discuss that today, but...
Yes.
Yeah.
Today's topic is what the fuck is healing? So we will get there. But first, what are you grateful for? Yeah, what are you grateful for this week?
I'm grateful for actually my healing and like because I can now be a lot more resilient when things happen to me, and I feel like I can bounce back quicker than I used to. So
nice.
Grateful for my healing.
I was gonna say, isn't there a saying that people say, say things don't happen to you, they happen for you?
Yep, exactly. They do always happen for you. You just don't always know what like the outcome is, which is like the scary part.
That's the releasing aspect.
What's that other saying? Let God.
Let go and let God.
Yeah.
Yeah, amen.
That part.
Amen. I am grateful for friendship? ? I think friendship is what came top of mind.
That's really relevant too.
Yeah, grateful for friendship. I'm not sure there's much to elaborate on that.
Just grateful for it.
Yeah.
Grateful for the connections or whatever.
Yeah, grateful to have people in my life that I love and they love me.
That's sweet.
What can I say?
What can I say?
I'm in a sweet mood. I will say though, my sleeping, like one thing I'm not grateful for, not to be negative, my sleeping schedule has been all fucked up.
Oh, mine is trash.
Why was I up till 1:30, 2 a.m. watching TikToks the other night? I said, you haven't done this in months. Year, maybe. What's wrong with you? Get off your fucking phone.
Dude, something was like severely wrong with me last night. Like
Last night, okay.
I was sleepy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I would get like this like surge of like
energy.
Not like energy, but in a bad way. Like it was like anxiety energy. I felt insane. And I don't even know how I don't know.
I just eventually
tired yourself out. Yeah, I just surrendered to it. And I was like, fuck it, I guess.
Oh my God.
And I slept hard. Like I didn't wake up to go to the bathroom, which is rare for me. But like it was so anxious. No. It was so weird. Like, I haven't felt that in a long time. Like, my insomnia's on one, for real.
You gotta take that sleepy time tea.
I have. It's not helping.
My mom said, I gotta ask her again, but she said sleepy time tea. She said it doesn't work or whatever. And then she said specifically these are, like, the herbs you should look for. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm sure sleepy time tea has them in it. All right, Mom.
I think they have calming ones. I don't know that they have sleeping ones. Like, I feel like I should just be taking straight up, like, valerian root.
Right. Like, my mom gave specific, like, you should just be having that.
You should be taking that.
I was like, okay, Susanna.
Yeah, I need to fucking up my fucking supplement game.
I'm in and out with the vitamins, man. I took one morning time dose. Haven't taken one in, like, 2 months.
Girl, I haven't done shit
And I was
either.
like, I said, your nail broke. Maybe take some of that biotin you've been storing for a month in that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday thing. Anyways.
Yeah, no. We're all healing.
But I think it's because I was sick, so that fucked up my sleeping schedule. I slept in the middle of the day, you know?
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
You're just like used to being up.
And NyQuil, like I was taking NyQuil, and then I was like, oh, I was like, oh my God, so much. Anyways.
Yeah, okay.
Besides the point. What the fuck is healing? I feel like this is a question we're constantly asking each other.
Each other for real.
Like,
yeah.
So what the fuck then? Like, we give each other advice and it's like, well, what the fuck does that look like?
I'm like, listen, we have gone on here and talked about a lot about what we think is like healing or like subtopics of this shit, whether it's relationships or like being in a rut, which we like did like 5 episodes on.
Just constant.
yeah, it's something that obviously is ongoing. I feel like we have like, you like beat around the bush. We've been beating around the bush about like
a healing process
and actually like figuring out what the fuck it is. What are we supposed to be doing?
Yeah, like, okay, I guess specifically if you want like relationship advice healing, we have some episodes on that, but like, let's try and just break it down all together in one. Let's try. Just two girls just trying to figure it out.
Just trying to figure it out.
Number one, cheesy quote: healing is not linear. You know what I mean?
That should go up and down.
She right. That cheesy quote hits, because some days you're like, I got this. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what I want for my life. I know what is going on. And it could be the next day that you're like, who am I? What am I doing? What's going on? And who is everyone around me? Like, you know, it's no telling what tomorrow brings.
Not at all.
It could go up. It could go up even more. But yeah, I think people expect healing to like end, like this end goal, like the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. Like, you're just gonna have this fucking moment where you're like, oh my god, I'm healed now. Which is like, that's wishful thinking.
But then life will literally throw something new at you.
Or old.
Just bring it, just fucking regurgitate it back up.
Bring it back up.
And then you have to deal with it again and start. But then, like, also I think, like, is it starting over, or is it just like another rise, like another hump to go over? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I don't think you're ever starting
like
over.
It would still not be linear, but it would still be like going up, going up, going up. You know, you just keep going until you die.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Okay. I mean,
because I think it's like going down is not really like possible, because you're just kind of always using. I guess you could.
Like, in some extreme cases, it could be like,
yeah, like addiction,
we went back
or
to
something.
that ex, or
yeah, that's true.
So like, it is an ongoing process, regardless of if you're
going up or down yet.
Like, you know, wiggling or down and up, roller coastering, but you're just never gonna be totally healed. And if anyone claims that they're like a perfect person and they have no problems and they're super happy, they're lying to themselves and everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, I just think about like I feel like we should bleep his name, but Andrew Tate.
What about him?
Just like, he just thinks he's so right. Everything he knows, like, he thinks he knows all and that he's right, and everyone else is just trying to silence him.
That's called narcissism, honey.
Right. But I'm like, do you really think all your thoughts are good ones? Yeah,
I recently like found out that the number one, I was gonna say symptom, but like this number one like an attribute that you can like put to narcissism or a narcissistic person is that they never want help. Like, they will never go and get help.
I know a few of those.
Same.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that makes sense, because he does not want to take anybody's like advice, anybody's even opinion. So
the accountability just ain't there to heal.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, that's that part. Maybe we gotta start there. Like, healing is only gonna happen if you're aware some healing needs to happen. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? Like, you can go your whole life and be like, nah, I'm cool. Like, I'm fine. Yeah, bad shit happened to me, but like, it's fine. It's whatever.
Like, I'm strong.
Yeah.
I'm good now. Are you?
And it's fine not to be. None of us are. Like, and it's not to say, because I think a lot of like heterosexual men specifically are very against like healing and like, you don't need to heal, like, I'm fine, is because they think that it means like you need to like journal every night and like you need to go to therapy twice a week, and like it, like they think it's this rigid fucking thing, when it's like, honestly,
I think it's more that they think it's feminine.
Okay, well, that part, yes, but like
they're scared of going into their femininity a little bit, like, and crying, or like even just addressing the fact that there's a problem, because they're taught to be such like fixers and providers and like, I'm a man, that it just like doesn't leave room for them to express feelings. Like, they don't think that that's something to do. Yeah, it's really sad. What a sad life to live.
It's really sad. I wish men would explore it more. Like, I get there's like societal things put into them, but it's unfortunate. I hope the next generation of boys to men boys to men are a little more in touch with their feminine side and aren't scared.
Let me tell you, if you're like a young boy listening, that shit is attractive to women, not the other thing we just said. Like,
yeah, being in tune with your femininity is
I think there's exceptions. There's some women who extremely like the ignorance of that. But I think a lot of us healed women,
healing women,
you're right, enjoy that about, even like, I'm in a relationship, but even if I like want a friend or see a person that's a man, if they're more in tune with their femininity, then I just feel more comfortable and more like open to even fucking having a conversation with you. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's at surface level. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
I'm saying you're boring if you can't fucking talk about your feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of men need to play We're Not Really Strangers one time, and then maybe they'll be like, that was actually kind of nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, women of the world, if you're dating a man who's against healing, just be like, let's play a little game.
It's like, oh, you like playing games? I got one for you.
Make it incentivized, if you know what I mean, and then they'll play.
You did not just say that.
I'm just kidding. I never had to do that. Don't ever do that. That's not necessary. But if they do require an incentive, then break up with them.
Dump them. Anyway, complete tangent, but yeah.
You have to acknowledge there's self-awareness and healing.
Yeah.
First step. You need to heal. We all do. It's okay.
Or it's like,
welcome.
Not even you need to heal, but like, well, yes, you do.
You'd be happier.
But it's just like, yeah, your life would be so much better if you just take a little look inside.
Like, don't you ever have moments, like, I'm asking you, the listeners, like, haven't you ever been like, I don't know, going through something and it was really hard, and then you sat there and you reacted a certain way and you were like, why did I do that? Like, do you ever sit and ask, why did I do that?
If you don't,
good for you, I guess.
Good for you for living in such like bliss.
Maybe you're ignorant to the fact that you're reacting terribly.
Ignorance is bliss.
Right. But that doesn't mean you don't need to be healed.
Not at all.
But there's also a whole nother side of that, like gaslight and, you know, people telling you shouldn't have acted a certain way and then you feel bad. But if you genuinely, like, since childhood have been acting a certain way or responding to things a certain way, and you think, why did I do that? Maybe there's something more there that you can explore. And then in the future, instead of sitting there and shaming yourself and feeling bad about how you reacted, you won't react that way because you have tools and all other goodies that you're like, oh, I don't need to react that way because I get where it was coming from originally. And now I know it has nothing to do with the situation or whatever, you know? There's so many scenarios.
I think once you start the healing process or like begin to recognize that self-awareness, it's easier to catch yourself before you even make the mistake or even act on like habitual behavior that really incites just like problematic,
just more problems in your life instead of less.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So like, again, you're never going to be 1,000%, 100% healed. It's not going to happen. I think that it's just like you are going to end up, like I said, understanding the tool set, the yourself. Before it happens. Yeah, you're going to understand the inner workings of why you do things. Like, if there's shit that you don't, maybe even like, I don't know if like, I'm sure everybody like doesn't like something about themselves, but if it's like something that just like really bothers about you, like habitually or behaviorally, like that's something that you can change. That's something you can be aware of. And once you start working on that, it makes you hate yourself so much less. Yeah,
you're just happier. Like, you're like, I understand why I was feeling that way, and now I can release that.
Exactly.
Like, it's just so much more free to live. So I'm just saying, if this isn't convincing you out the get, I mean, I guess it sounds detrimental. Like, you're never going to be healed. But, like, every day you're just going to be as healed as you possibly can be. Like, isn't that also, like,
really exciting?
kind of exciting? Like, you're the happiest you can possibly be because of how healed you are every day.
Yep.
And it's honestly, I think if I was, like, 17 hearing about, like, healing and, like, you should heal yourself, I probably would be super overwhelmed. I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? What is going on? What do you mean? I gotta do work. I gotta think. I gotta whatever. But, like, after doing some amount of work or whatever in my mid-20s now, I'm like, it was so worth it. And, like, not to say anyone ever brought it up to me when I was 17 by any means, but I can see why, like, the mindset of, like, if you are not introduced to the idea at all, it's gonna be overwhelming. Like, at the get, you're gonna be like, that sounds so much harder than just being upset in the moment and then getting over it eventually, or whatever, you know. But let me tell you, it's not.
It's not what?
It's not easier.
No.
Yeah, to, like, be upset and then get over it and then it happen again. It
fucking takes way longer, actually, to fully get over it, to
heal the relationship that you maybe,
like, tore up for some reason. Like, it's just, it makes life so much easier and your life just flows better, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I also think quite often about the idea, well, we talk a lot about relationships in specific. This episode will be some relationships, some about just, like, healing, honestly, like, childhood trauma, just trauma in general, or just healing yourself and, like, the habitual stuff that you've created for yourself. But in terms of, like, wanting to be in a relationship, but also realizing and feeling overwhelmed by the fact that you probably need to work on yourself a lot.
That is overwhelming too.
That's overwhelming. So I think, like, people often ask, like, or they think that they just need to be alone to figure all this stuff out. And
that's
then
what people tell them. You
know?
You
have to, like, work on yourself. Like, I get the sentiment of, like, what's, like, RuPaul's quote, like,
love yourself or no one else will, or something. Doesn't he say
he's
that?
like, what did he say? He says, wow, that's fucked up that we don't know the quote.
I said, RuPaul.
Look it up real quick. If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else?
Oh, so it's the other way. Okay.
I also love his quote, we're all born naked and the rest is drag.
That's funny.
But for real, like, I feel like it's constantly, like, told to us, like, you gotta be your like 100% best self, and then you can, like, find the person to love you.
Yeah.
I think that that's partly true, but also I think, like, once you've come to, like, the self-awareness of, like, I have to work on myself for the rest of my life and be consistently, like, conscious of that idea, it's much easier to find a partner who will resemble the same work. You know, I think it's completely possible, in my opinion, to be with somebody and work on yourself at the same time. Life, though, makes it very difficult for you. But again, like, you're never going to be 100% healed. I think good partners will obviously, like, still, people in general are going to trigger you. Let me just say that. But a good partner will help you express and also move through whatever trigger that happened in a way that's helpful and healing versus just blowing it out of proportion. Right. So,
and I think that quote still stands, obviously. Like, you have to love yourself. Well, just because you're not healed doesn't mean you don't love yourself. Or, like, because you know that healing is forever, like, that is just the self-awareness that you need before you can love someone else, basically. I think that's more so what it
means. I know in, like, I said in, like, the episode where we were talking about, like, 24 things that we've learned or whatever, I had said something about how you don't have to like every single thing about yourself to love yourself. And I think that's 100% true because of this, because healing is always happening, and, like, you're not always gonna like every single thing that you do or say, or, like,
you're not perfect.
You know, you're not fucking perfect, and you'll never be. So loving yourself now and knowing that, like, it's like recognizing whether or not the relationship or, like, the person that you're dating or whatever is, like, matching you and gonna take care of you in that way that's, like, only helping your healing versus hurting you, then that is loving yourself, and that is knowing your worth. And, like, I think it's possible, basically, like, you know.
Yes.
Just to sum it up,
basically, we think if you're liking somebody and you are self-aware enough to know that you need to heal, Go for it, babes. But make sure they're also self-aware.
Yeah.
I feel like that is maybe like a new red flag.
If they don't want to heal.
If they don't want to heal. Or like they just don't, like they're unaware entirely. Like of that. I mean, okay. Maybe that's harsh. Like they can be new to the idea. But like interested at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like show some interest in
Right.
the topic and not write it off.
Right.
That's the problem. That's the problem, babe.
Yup.
What's not the problem is you. You're not the problem. There's ways to make your trauma and the things you need to heal.
You're the problem if you can't address your shit
Yeah.
and project it towards other people. But
Mm-hmm.
your traumas can be
Your asset.
your
we're gonna
asset,
call
your power, your thing that flips your frown upside down.
Which sounds weird. And obviously, like, not all trauma is the same. Obviously.
Yeah. I think that, like, the way that mental health is really spoken about is, like, just labeling
Mm-hmm.
mental illness or, like, labeling trauma a trauma. But we're, like, less talking about how to create that trauma or that, like, neurodivergency into something that's helpful or, like, something as a positive. Horrendous things do happen to people, but I think that at the end of the day, you can take something from that experience and turn it into an asset. Let me give you an example so that you're not just like, shut the fuck up. You're probably like being really ignorant. You don't know what happened to me. I don't know what happened to you. But I do think that we all learn coping mechanisms from the traumas that we endured. And those coping mechanisms can be used as assets in other parts of your life. For example,
Okay.
in my case, I feel like I am hyper vigilant about people around me, like whether like the vibe, like the energy around me. I overanalyze my environment to the point where like I know why somebody is happy about something. I know why somebody is upset about something. I'm constantly like, my brain's just working like endlessly trying to figure out and read the room. And that comes from the trauma of like a household where one of like a parent or like just a person was creating a really sour mood for the entire household, and then everybody had to feel in or feed into that. So like that's how I grew up, and I understand that like maybe that's not as an extreme, and I'm really maybe just like keeping it at a bay. You don't need to share my everything, but
Yeah.
that is something that like I can then utilize in other ways of like I'm highly detail oriented at work, or like when in a room of people, I can tell if somebody isn't vibing with me and I don't want to fucking waste my time. Or like I think also that creates like a fucking bullshit like reader for me, where like I can tell if somebody's not about to be a good
Whatever it
person,
is, yeah.
you know. And I'm just saying like examples like that, like you can take the thing that you coped with or like what made you overanalyze or whatever the hell it is, like, and you can turn it into other places of your life, like career, or like you can even spin it in a positive way. You know what I mean? I think you can create an asset out of the trauma. And that's like, I think that's the next step of talking about mental health is like, okay, now we've identified it. How can you spin it? Because it's not going to go away. How can you make it a tool instead of a fucking hindering
Instead
thing?
of like you looking around a room and being like, I don't want to be here. This
Exactly.
makes me socially anxious. I like am exhausted reading the room. Instead, you're just like, like I realize I don't vibe with you. And that's cool.
And that's cool. And I'm going to gravitate towards the people that do, you
Yeah.
know? So it's just, I think, yeah, definitely try to figure out how, I think it's like, again, self-awareness, figure out the things that you are doing naturally, I'm going to quote unquote naturally, because it's something that you learned. It wasn't something that like
But
you
for
just
you,
were born. Yeah, but
it is become.
has become natural and you do every day.
Yeah.
And you cope in that way. Make it an asset instead of something that hurts you every day. But I think you won't know that unless like you look at it and you're like, and not fear it anymore.
Yeah. And I think like obviously therapy is like the number one like advice, obviously, to anyone who wants to start their healing journey. But obviously it's not feasible for everyone for whatever, like, variety of reasons. But I still feel like it's something you can do on your own. I feel like it will take longer potentially. I don't know. But, like, I think there's still things you can do if you're, like, not ready for therapy or don't have the means for it. Like, I still think that there are ways to heal without needing therapy. Like, it is the number one, but I don't think it's the only thing that you can do, which I think we're going to talk about our other ideas of healing, basically. I agree. I think that, like, it's so probably daunting for people because they don't want to heal because then they have to face it. And then once they face it, they're probably like, well, then, like, then what? Like, then I'm just sad about it. I'm just upset about whatever has come to light. And it's like, no, like, in therapy or whatever on your journey, you figure out ways that you can spin it and make it positive, or just let it go.
Mute it in some form.
Yeah. Like, some things are better letting go, and, like, instead of, like, it's there whether you think it is or not. It's there subconsciously, and it's doing something to your brain and body and entire well-being. So, like, if you can drag it out, as horrible as that sounds, like, dragging it out is better than letting it sit there and, like, not eat you alive, because it's so dramatic. But, like, it's better that it's just out and you can release it and do whatever it is that is the best coping, healing for that specific thing, and release it. Like, it's so freeing.
It is really freeing.
It's pretty crazy.
Less shit that you have in your brain, the more things you can do.
Like, the more songs I can memorize.
Or, like, fucking from Step Brothers, or, like, the bunk beds. Like, there's so many room for activities. I'm like, so mood. That's my brain. So if you're, like, asking yourself, how can I start? Or, you know, I'm not ready for therapy. I mean, number one way to do it is therapy, in my opinion. At least just, like, there's something so special about having a bouncing board in therapy and somebody to take up all of the jumbled mess and words that you're saying and turn it into...
Makes sense.
Yeah, give it back to you in a way that it's digestible and, like, easy for you to move through in, like, life now. It's not as scary as it seems. I know that, like, I think our generation and the generation under us is, like, very much pro, like, therapy and, like, isn't very scared. But if you're, like, a millennial and listening to this and, like, you're, like, on the fence of, like, I'm not, like, upset about it, but, like, I don't think I need it, or like, you know, it's helpful for everybody. Everybody has a problem that they're facing, whether, like, pain is fucking relative. So whether it's, like, you had a fight with your spouse or your partner, or you're, like, literally upset that
road rage, I don't know,
somebody cut you off, like, doesn't matter. Like, you'll get into the root of, like, why you're so bothered. And therapy helps you be unbothered.
Yes, unbothered girls. That's the sentiment with therapy.
But other ways that you can maybe, like, start your healing process or journey, I would say the first one is just, like, jotting down the problem at hand when it happens. I think when you, like, put it on paper or you write it down, you kind of, like, have, like, this energetic release of, like, okay, I'm putting it somewhere else. It doesn't have to stay in my brain. And then when you read it back to yourself, it's more of, like, a story that happened instead of, like, something so personal to you.
They're, like, feeling right there.
Yeah. So that's my number one, I think, after therapy.
Yeah, I think journaling's really good. Or art, or whatever you're
transmuting.
Yeah, whatever your form of expression is. I don't know if any of these really... I guess making boundaries would be another big one, which is, like, the hardest one, honestly. Even if you're in therapy, it's, like, probably then still the hardest, because it's, like, what the fuck does that look like? It's different for every relationship you have and every person, like, what you need. And
it's, like, so tailored to everybody.
It's, like, so...
But I think, like, number one, just, like, recognize when something's making you feel uncomfortable or sad or, like, not... positive, I guess, even if it's, like, neutral. Just, like, taking a mental note and be like, okay, maybe I need to set a boundary here because this is not helpful for me. If something doesn't feel helpful, it's also just, like,
once you set that boundary, you kind of get to see who you're dealing with. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because their reaction is everything. Like, I've seen tweets, like, this girl does, like, screenshots of people that send her stuff, and it'll be like people that have talked for a day on Bumble or something, and the girl will set a boundary of some sort, like, oh, one example, this guy called a girl a whore or something. He said, like, girls are whores anyway, like, not talking about her, but just saying, like, oh, well, you're better because all of the girls are whores.
Okay.
And she goes, it makes me really uncomfortable that you called women whores, like, setting a boundary, like, that's not cool to say. And he just blew up on her, and it was like, bro, all she did was set a very simple boundary, and you could have said, my apologies, like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't say that, you're right. Or even if you fucking disagree, you'd be like, oh, well, I hear you out, I guess maybe we should stop talking to each other then, because that's how I behave. Like, but, like, obviously a guy
but
behaves
that's not
like
what
that.
you're gonna actually say, hun.
No,
It's just like the pride and the embarrassment is real. Just this what is it, like, the self acknowledgement, the fucking just being aware. Again, it's not there.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, so boundaries is another good one for healing. I think, like, these are like little things, right?
Yeah. I think also, like, if you don't have to do therapy, there's a lot of self-help books. I know like reading in general is really helpful for people, but, like, there's self-help books that are like workbook kind of type, or you can at least like start to gain the concepts of, like, narratives or, like, things that you might learn in therapy, honestly, and you can maybe even start that process on your own. Like, it will just help you out, like, be one step ahead of, like,
your therapist.
Yeah, not your therapist necessarily, because they're gonna do the real thing, but, like,
but
you'll understand, you'll know how to, like, come about to, like, those ideas that you're having and put them into, like, a concept, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I will say, yeah, like, when I was really strongly into therapy, she would ask me, like, oh, do you know what this is? And I'd be like, yeah. Like, are you about to diagnose me with that or something? Like, what's going on? Or whatever, you know, like, she would bring up a topic, and it's like, I've seen it on TikTok, or I follow an account on Instagram that, like, posts quotes about that, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, even stuff like that, like, just educating yourself as much as you can to things that relate to you, I think is super helpful. Like, TikTok has tons of people who do that. I mean, my therapist had a TikTok. I should find it. Oh my god.
You should.
I mean, I know I've seen it. Anyways.
For the other things that we're going to mention, I think it's, like, less healing and more of just, like, I guess it is healing.
It's like activating a safe space to heal. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not necessarily doing anything that's, like, magically going to make you feel like, oh, I've solved that problem necessarily, but it'll just, like, leave you in a state, like, it brings your state to a more, like, relaxed, I guess, presence, and just, like, awareness, and, like, also just self-care, which is such a overused word now,
concept, yeah, but
literal self-care of just, like, doing shit that you want to do because you want to do it. I feel like people undermine the value in that. People just think, like, oh, she goes on a walk every day, or, oh, she has to read her book before bed. It's like, this is not things that they have to do or someone, like, needs to do in order to heal or whatever. It genuinely, like, puts someone in a state of, like, I'm doing something for me and this feels good. Like, I'm glad I did this for myself.
Yeah, I feel like we constantly talk about, like, routine and stuff, but, like, those things are just something that keeps you at, like, literally a neutral state, or, like, at bay, to just allow yourself to be open and available to yourself, literally, because if you're not taking care of your mental state or, like, how you're feeling, you can never even come to address the problems that you're having. You're just kind of like oppressing them the whole time, and repressing them the whole time.
Oppressing your problems.
I mean, that part. But yeah, so the things that we kind of, like, are thinking, some of these, like, feel like, I think when we think about healing, it's also, like, restarting. I feel like we're restarting something. So, like, to make those feels happen. Things like saying yes to new experiences, to things that maybe you wouldn't have said yes to before, obviously with caution and being safe and in reason,
with friends having your location.
Say yes to things with that, like, trying new things and having new experiences for yourself, not only will like propel you to a healing, like wanting healing, but it just like will create just such good energy for you that you're like, I deserve more.
And I feel like it's telling the universe, like, I'm ready for more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also like, hey, I'm putting myself out there.
Like, I'm staying in motion, so like
give me something good.
what's happening here? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Other things, I guess, on the other end of the spectrum is like actually doing things for you. So like the saying yes is still doing things for you, but like more so just like opening yourself up to something new.
Right.
But then doing things for you, like fucking lighting a candle and reading a book, or going on a date by yourself, which like I have yet to like do an actual like date, like go to a restaurant and sit by myself, or like go to a movie by myself, is something I have not done. And maybe once I do it, the universe will reward me. I don't know. Maybe. But I think like those are cool things that maybe, I think even our generation does not value doing things alone, which, not to get sad, but like one day we might be alone. Like physically, like our kids are out of our house, our spouse isn't
Either
there
with us or
yeah,
you know, the other thing.
right? So it's like you should be able to do things by yourself and be comfortable with it by that age. You know what I mean? Like I'd hope by 75 years old I can go see a movie by myself and not be like, everyone's judging me because I'm alone. Instead, I'm gonna be like, everyone's judging me because they think my spouse is dead, but really they're camping. Like,
Not that. I think also like remembering that people don't care as
they
much
really
as you do.
don't. Yeah.
Like they're not thinking about the things that you're thinking about.
No, like you're just out here living your life.
Like when I see a person alone, I'm like, they just came to see a movie by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But like inside, they're probably like, oh
I mean,
my
when
God,
an older person comes in,
my
I do go,
outfit.
oh.
You know, when they're older, it is kind of like,
But maybe they're just like, fuck it, I don't want my wife to come. I don't want my
or
spouse
like
to
their
come.
wife is like, fuck you, go do that by yourself.
For real.
I don't want to hang out with you today. I want a garden. Go see a movie. I guess to address like doing the work, because I feel like everyone's like, I'm doing the work. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing the work to find my soulmate, or I'm doing the work for that next job, or
To find myself
or
in
they're
general.
like, your soulmate's doing the work already, and you're like, bitch, what are we talking about? What work?
Not this being hella specific.
I said, bitch, what work? What do you mean? What job? I ain't got nothing like that. So like, what the fuck is the work? And I think the work is literally just being self-aware and making decisions that align with the path you're trying to head on, I guess. You
Yeah.
know? Like making decisions that
I think making
you
decisions that
grow.
are like also changes though, because you're not going to receive any new things if you're not making any changes. Do not keep doing the same goddamn thing and expecting a fucking different result. Well, maybe we'll get into details.
in Glowing Hour.
In Glowing Hour.
Yeah, we're going to chat about our own specific
Healing journey.
Yeah. We're back with mango lime blended margaritas.
Yep. It literally tastes like a smoothie. Like I can't taste the alcohol in it. I can.
She's there. Well, they're cute and I highly recommend. Anyways, our healing journeys. What exactly are we sharing? Oh, where we're at in our healing journey. Yeah. Healing.
Funny question.
Healing. I don't know.
Healing.
It's never ending. I'm aware.
I think we've gone past the self-awareness point.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, what's interesting is that I feel like I really started my healing journey probably like a few months, maybe like 6 months before I got into the relationship that I'm in now.
Right.
Which is like, doesn't sound
That's
like
when you
enough
became
time.
aware, basically.
Not necessarily aware, but started to work on it. I think
so you weren't like actively like, I need to heal. Right?
No.
Okay. But you were still starting it because, yeah, period.
I think when something like tragic happened to me, happened for me,
Yes.
I think that was like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And I think like it initiated that like self-awareness of like, you're having destructive behaviors even though like I don't necessarily find it to be my fault, I think at the same time though, it was definitely something that happened for me where it made me so much more awake to like the inner workings of like my behavior and like the actual things that I wanted in my life versus what I was doing. Like what I wanted and who I wanted to become, what, like there was no connection link at all. It was just like, someday I'll become this.
But for right now, I'm going to keep doing this.
But it's also like, I didn't even know how, you know? And I think when that happened to me, I was trying to go to therapy. I was trying to like do some work, I guess, but things were just not lining up for me. And so I started to do my own research. I started to like look into a lot of podcasts that would talk about like spirituality. I started going to like a spiritual church. I just like started to look for other ways that I would find community, that I would find ways to learn, to teach myself about how to look within. And that's when I started to like meditate. I started working out really consistently, which going back to where I am now, but like I think that's where my healing journey started, and I was doing really great. And I was like on the up and up, and I felt like I literally at that point was like, I think like I'm ready to be in like in a relationship where like they can match and like only elevate this kind of like feeling and healing that I'm doing. And that's when like Logan came about. But like ever since then, obviously, like now we were like almost 4 years into our relationship, and I still feel every day that I'm fucking doing the work. It's never gonna end. But at the same time, like I definitely can say that you can do it with the person that you like are in a relationship with, as long as they're also working on themselves, be highly aware of like the fact that you're a work in progress always, because you're never going to be perfect. But I don't even know why I started that, but that's where my healing started. Yeah, that's where it started. Where did it start for you?
Where the journey started. Side note, I think it's so interesting, like you saying like when your journey started. Like I just think about prior to healing starting, like the people or just like the energy we were putting out to what we were receiving, you know what I mean? And it was so unintentional and so like
unintentional to us, but it was very intentional what you were putting out to the fucking universe.
Yeah, like for us, we weren't thinking like, I'm putting out this and I'm accepting this. I think a lot of it for me was accepting a certain energy and not like standing up for myself, I guess. Yeah. So in turn, I was receiving things that were not great.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting that like once you start your healing process, you can like you're better in tune to like stop making choices based on a moment and like more so based on like what you want your life to look and feel like. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. Like I maybe there are people out there who don't feel like they ever like had that big switch. They've always lived that way, or they, you know, like, which kudos to you. Maybe your parents like really taught you
how to be self-aware,
and you were self-aware from the get.
Listen, the self-awareness shit was self-taught over here.
Yeah, okay, it's still a work in progress. But yeah, I don't know. That was just like an interesting thought that I had about like that. I guess some people maybe do have self-awareness in that way already, and like they're just like, to them it is no different. Like they're not like, I need to go on this big healing process. Like they're just like, I don't know, I've always been living life like aware.
That reminds me of that that TikTok. Sorry, my voice just sounded really weird. There was like literally liquid in my throat of that TikTok. That kid that was like, what did he say? He was like he said, I love to start drama. Like his mom's recording in the front seat and he's in the back seat. He's probably like 12 or something. He's like, I really like to start drama. Like, it's such a bad thing that I do. Nice. And I know that it's such a bad thing. I like need to work on myself.
But period.
Like, yes, you do, King. He was so self-aware. And it's just like, it was just so funny because he's so young and like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And obviously it's so silly. Like, I'd love to start drama. But like, that later in life is not cute. And like, you know what I mean?
Later in life, that's not going to hit the same.
But I think like people who are in their healing journey can then teach their children to be so fucking self-aware that it's like, if you started to create a problem, you can nip it in the bud, you know, and just leave it at that.
Life is so complex.
So complex.
Like, oh my god. Wow. Because you never know what kind of kid you're going to fucking get. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have the kid that's like, I'm going to start drama. And you can have the kid that's like, I'm head in the books. I don't like to talk to anyone. And you're like, those are two completely different. Like, I have to do something totally different. I can't just copy and paste the parenting. Okay, tangent. Yeah. Anyways, my healing journey probably similarly started. I think like after my long relationship ended. That's when I realized like, oh honey, what's going on there? I literally bought a book that was like you were saying, like self-helpy, where it's like you fill in the blanks, like you literally go through it. I need to get back to the book. It's like a quarter of the way filled out. But yeah, I think that's when it like started and I realized like, oh, maybe you don't have it all figured out. And like, maybe you don't have all the answers. And like, yes, you were right a lot of the times in that relationship or whatever. And like, you know, it's just, you don't always have the answers though. And like, life feels confusing now that your plan's been thrown out of whack. So I was like, fuck, I guess there's some things to figure out. And like there were so many questions coming out of that relationship, like what do I want in a person, like what do I want for my life now,
even like who are you as an individual,
who am I, like what do I like to do I like doing the things I said I like doing then, or was it things that he liked doing?
Yeah, so many questions. And I think that you hit like the nail on the head, that like although like, you know, a lot of things, like I don't want to say abuse because it's like a very large term, but like the stuff that you endured in that relationship maybe wasn't like stuff that you created, but there's like such self-acknowledgement and like just like realizing and like recognizing that you allowed stuff into your life to happen in that way is having enough accountability. Like just having accountability, whether like something happened to you or didn't, like
for you my bad. It's just important though to like have that recognition. And
I think because we both like knew each other in the times that it happened. It wasn't at the same time,
but we didn't talk about it. We talked about it, but we didn't say like, I'm so proud of you for starting your healing journey. Like it wasn't. It was just like, I'm really glad you're getting help, or like I'm glad you're looking for help, or yeah, that was fucked up, you should probably do something about that, or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't know if like, because yours was after, I don't know if like you saw like the switch up in me, but I definitely saw the switch up in you when it happened. And it's just like we were living as completely different people. Isn't that true though?
Literally, I was a completely different person before this.
It's like unrecognizable.
I don't want to meet her ever again. She was great, but like
she was down bad.
We'll say that.
I will say that.
She was down bad.
But like with that said, like I even think about myself like in high school acting like I was owed the world, or like
you're entitled.
I was such a fucking shithead. Like I think about like the friendships that I have now that like were part of that time. And in specific, I'm just like, why did you think that you could just say that shit, or you could just do that shit?
You just be like that.
I understand why I did it, because that's how I was taught to like love other people. I was also heavily like confused about my entire life probably, but like you were so mean for what?
Yeah,
I would have slapped me silly. I would have never been my own friend if that was, you know what I mean?
Damn, like that.
Yeah, like that. I was not a good friend.
Well,
anyway,
I didn't know you at the time, so I can't speak on
that. All awful, but it's just like some of the things I said, just like
they sit with you still.
Yeah, just like that was manipulative. That was weird. Like, why did you do that?
I think I could think about a girl in high school who like also maybe said some things looking back that I was like, that was weird, or like that was out of pocket. I don't know why she did that. And like looking back freshly out of high school, I was like, fuck that girl. You know, I was like, whatever. But like now that, I don't know if it's this shift or whatever, but now I can look back and I'm like, she was probably just going through something and she didn't know how to express it, and I don't know her life, so whatever. Like, yeah, it was maybe a little bit of a punching bag, but
you don't think you ever like punched the bag? You ever did anything to like?
I mean, sure, probably, but
I think I'm probably making it like seemed like I was such an awful human being. I wasn't that bad. It was just more of like, I recognize the small things that I did. Even just like not liking a person for something so fucking silly and then like making it a big ass thing for no fucking reason. Like that was so dumb. You know what I mean?
That's so high school though, you know what I mean? Like it's normal.
But again, that was a completely different person. That's what I'm saying. Like the healing was not fucking started there at all because you're such a judgmental person for what? You're not fucking perfect.
It's a lot of girls in high school. Thinking about it in general, like we all were hating.
That's what I'm saying. We were all hating assholes. I was just a hating asshole is what I was.
She ain't no hating asshole no more.
I don't give two shits about you.
I mean, she does hate a little bit. We hate within good.
Hate's a big word. I just dislike a lot of things.
No, we hating though. You know what I mean? Like we hating on things.
Yeah. I don't hate nobody, but
no. Nah.
Anyway.
That's just the fucking tangents.
Where we are now. You wanna go first?
Currently. I think I'm like in this I mean, I feel like I pushed this topic to come about for the podcast because I'm going through this stage of like, what the fuck is healing? And I'm like, I feel like I've done a lot of work. I mean, let's see if we're gonna say it's been 3-4 years. Yeah, almost 4 years since I guess that relationship ended. So when the healing started, and I feel like I've been put through a lot happened for me that I have learned from and I've grown from. So I feel like I've healed in a lot of ways. And like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just always in this like stage of life where I never want to accept the present. Like I'm always looking forward to the future, and old me was always looking to the past. So like I'm trying to come to this like state where I'm like okay with living in the present and like having fun and like doing whatever. And like I feel like I have in general in like some aspects of my life, and then in other aspects I get very drawn to like the future and like what's to come. So I'm like, my healing journey is like ever changing, and I feel like the next step for me would be like a big change is like work and love. Like those are the two things that would be like big changes for me. And I feel like I'm putting out energy to accept some of those things. Like love wise, I feel like I'm not there yet. Like I don't want to be in a relationship, so I feel like I'm not putting out that energy to the universe that like I'm healed and I'm ready to or I'm healing in such a positive way that I like want to heal with someone else. Like I personally just don't feel ready for that. But like work wise, I'm like, I feel like
I'm ready for something else.
Something's gonna pop off. Like something's gonna change. Something's gonna like finally be what we want to happen, I guess. So I don't know if that's necessarily like my healing journey or just like my life. But like
it's both.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm not in therapy, like specifically. I'm not in therapy right now, which I feel like I've said a lot. It's been literally almost a year. But I just like was really in love with my therapist, and I was really hoping I could go back to her, but
it's starting to look like we need to look for some other options.
It's starting to look like I'm not. So yeah,
there's a lot of great people out there.
Yeah. What about you? Let's move on.
I think I'm at a point where like I understand literally maybe not.
It's the drink. The drink is getting you everything.
No, like I think I know everything about like my traumas and my behavior. It's just now like, you know, like I say like up to now because I know like other things are going to happen in my life, and that's a whole new rediscovery. But up to now, I understand all of my behavioral issues, all of my traumas. I'm working on the flipping them part. I've flipped a lot of them, but it's like once you flip them, it doesn't stay that way. You need to continue to like work on it. It's never going to be like fully perfect. So I'm on like that part of like just, it's more like curating it and like making sure that it's functioning as a functioning machine, that I'm like oiling it up, making it work every day, you know? Because like I think now it's much easier for me to apologize less and like do more pre-work before like things get bad. or like before I take a situation and misinterpret it or like fucking rework it in my brain like an anxious bitch that I am, I like take a minute. I know now that I need to take a minute. Like I can more quickly recognize that is what I'm trying to say. So I'm like mentally at that place, but I think there's like a more physical place that I want to be in terms of like having more of a discipline with myself about other tools that make me like the self-care aspect of like making myself available to this working machine that I'm like mentally creating and being more aligned with like mind body
because like the more time, like the self-care aspect, right, they're saying the more you have of that, the more you have space to like
because I think right now I'm like lacking in like creating mental like just like mental clarity. So like I want to get back into like my meditating, also working out consistently. I literally today I tried to do like a bar video and I was like, I'm so exhausted. I'm only 8 minutes in. That's not okay. I'm only 25. Like,
it's really hard.
It is, but I also just think like this would have been a piece of cake for me like 2 years ago.
Okay, don't be negative though.
I'm not trying to. It's just more of like
it was a conscious thought.
I don't want to let myself get worse where like I can't work out and then it's way too hard for me to start over. You know what I mean? It's just like a check-in kind of thing. So anyway, I think I'm more in the space of creating more of a self-care ritual and like tool set in that way so that I can better be there for myself. Because I think right now I'm not as available to myself as I should be because I'm not fully taking care of mind, body, you know, everything. But I am doing like here and there, like the things that I need. I just need a better 360 on it.
You just want to feel like I say I take care of myself or whatever.
Yeah. And I think there's also like right now, like if you want to visually put it, like the train works, but it's just like slowly.
She chug-a-lugging.
She's just like slowly. You could hear the scream.
No.
You know? It's like barely going. I don't want a full fucking speed.
If you're going to use that analogy, I don't know what I'm at.
I think you're like.
I'm sputtering.
Like she going.
The car is revving. It's
no. And she's on for like 5 seconds.
She turned off. Oh, she turned off again.
I think she's just like in a good 3 miles per hour.
Yeah, vibe. I think she's going. She's just.
It's just.
I think based on where I left things in therapy, I think there's like some inner child things that I need to uncover.
Yeah.
But like in general, like I think if I were to never progress on things from the past or whatever, I genuinely think I'd still be happy. Like see, this is the part too where it's like when you get in a relationship, I think things change. But for me and the relationships I have right now, I feel like I'm happy and like I feel like I can set boundaries and I can communicate with people and I can like whatever. Like I feel pretty good with the tool sets that I have in those scenarios. It's just like the relationship aspect that things change for me.
Yeah, whenever you add a new person to the mix, whether it's like a new friend, a new boyfriend, partner, shit's gonna
we're gonna probably hit a reverse real quick. We're gonna be a reverse.
It's more of like a stop sign.
Okay, maybe a stop
assess
sign.
left, right, and be like, okay, you know what
maybe
I mean?
Turn.
Maybe you gotta turn.
We hit an intersection.
Gotta wait for the other cars.
Yeah. That's where we're at.
This analogy is nuts.
You know, wherever you're at in your journey, maybe your train is fully rusted and stopped. We don't know.
Girl, you gotta pick some oil up.
You gotta get your friend to run to the store, get some WD-40 on that bitch.
Get her nice and oiled up.
Yeah, and I feel like it is such a luxury and such a privilege to like think about these things and like have the space to talk about them. So if you feel like you don't have that luxury or that space to talk to anyone in your life about it, we're here. Like, we're down to talk about it.
We're not no therapists, but
yeah,
we offer a friendly hand of
advice.
Literally, even just like a listening ear. Shit's tough, and if you feel like you have nobody to talk to about it, makes life harder.
Yeah.
So if you don't want, literally just send. You can even send something, say you don't need to respond.
Oh.
Like if you just want to be heard, send it over.
If you want it to be anonymous, I don't know, make a fake account and send it to us and then we can talk about it. I don't know.
Does Spotify have like an anonymous like
I don't know how the
polls
polls work on Spotify. We can check into that. But I mean, we could also always do an advice episode with anonymous.
You know what we should do? Yeah.
Whatever.
I was gonna say Ask FM. It's not that. What is it called?
Yeah,
the new one. Is it called Ask FM? No, it's not.
No.
That was like
it's anonymous QA or something. No.
Yeah, maybe we'll just pull something up.
Maybe we'll see who responds. If anyone needs advice. We're like on the train at least, okay?
Yeah, we're trying here.
We're trying. There's effort. There's a conductor in the train.
Someone is stamping your tickets as we speak.
The Polar Express.
Come on in. This analogy is going way too far.
It's going far.
If you can't tell by now, Sam and I take jokes until they're literally dead.
Too far
until they're dead. Anyway.
It's all right.
Congratulations on your healing journey, and know that it's fucking difficult, but it's gotta get done. You gotta clean up those cobwebs. Not me with another fucking analogy.
Me. Oh, the cobwebs. Halloween's coming.
Dust them up.
It's the perfect time to leave them, but
hey.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Drink lots of water.
Lots of water.
But anyway, we'll talk to you guys later, but make sure to follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel or to the other forms of listening that you're doing this on, and engage with us. We really appreciate it. And again, we're here. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Just do the things, Hit
us up.
Hit us up.
We want to know.
Well, this is it for today's episode. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.